one thing I would say before you even start advertising is to do this. This mistake is something I see all the time. If you watch Alex Hormozi and you think that that's the way to run your business, then I'm telling you right now that you're wrong.
So in this episode, Ryan is going to be running myself and Doug through a beginner's guide to selling on social media through paid advertising. And this is what we're going to cover.
Right, so we're going to cover how to use meta ads to advertise your business. We're going to look at what are the basics that you need. So where do you even start? What are the common mistakes that I see people make? And we're gonna look at what does it actually mean when we talk about an algorithm? What does it mean when I say to you, you need to have lots of creative? Well, what does that actually mean? What is a goal? Right? When you have an advertising goal, what is a goal? What the hell does anyone mean by that? We're going to go through some of this common jargon that business owners really struggle with when they first enter social media advertising. Yeah, to give you a little bit of my background, I actually started in social media during my first job. My first job was at the Beano Comic Book, and the kind of job that no one wanted to do was to run the social media accounts because it was seen as having no value whatsoever. We're going back a long way, right? Yeah. And so my job was to update the Facebook and the Twitter, and I really enjoyed it because it was a bit where no one cared what I was doing, but actually I was having a lot of fun doing it. And as I moved into subsequent jobs, I really kept an eye on social media. And social media, Facebook started advertising their advertising platform in about 2013, 2014. And the organization I was working for was a charity that had memberships, and I started selling memberships using Facebook ads. And go on a couple of years later, and people were actually starting to look for Facebook advertising specialists. And you know what? There weren't any. So I used to manage to get jobs really easily, and I've kind of grown through that, and I've kind of grown with the platform, and I've seen a lot of mistakes working for businesses or working freelance. I've seen a lot of the same things, and so it's really good to be able to help people understand how to use social media and what mistakes that I see all the time.
So if we were to move into the social media part now, going right to the very beginning, what are the most common mistakes you see people making? Getting into paid ads.
The number one mistake that I see people make is this. They don't know how to get into their account. They don't have control of the access to their own accounts. So they don't know how to get into their ad account. They don't know how to get into their business manager.
Well, let's simplify this even more, because people don't even know that I'm speaking to people about ads. I'm like, well, what does your Facebook ads manager say? And they're like, what's that? Or Meta Ads Manager. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just make it really simple for people.
Yeah, so Facebook Ads Manager is really the platform that you use to advertise on Facebook, Instagram, and the rest of the Facebook ecosystem. There are two ways of advertising on these platforms. One is boosting a post. So you go and you have this post and you go, I want to put £5 behind it, and it'll give you a range of options. So do you want to have people have more video views, or do you want to reach more, or do you want to try and get phone calls? And you put that money behind it, and it does that thing. Or there's a slightly more sophisticated way of doing it, which is setting up in the Facebook ads platform, which is, you reach it, I'm sure we can put a link somewhere in some show notes or something, but it's like business.facebook.com. And that's how you enter this kind of back-end side of Facebook advertising. And using the Facebook ads platform, you get much better service. Because if I just boost a post, I only get that one item of creative doing that one particular thing. So, this post of me getting my post of me with a bike, it will, get a reach, 10 times reach of what it would usually do because I put money behind it. But actually, if I built it in the ads platform, then I can put more, many more types of creative behind it. I can give it a much more sophisticated algorithm to work with.
And when you say algorithm, we spoke about this briefly before. What do you mean by algorithm? What is an algorithm?
So it's basically a decision matrix that is run by a computer, and you give it a bunch of data, and it says, if this user has these attributes, they might be interested in this particular type of action, and me as a person who's trying to get a particular type of action matches this user, and it works together to try and basically, get the sales out of it. Mm-hmm. That's the real simplest way of doing it.
And are we talking about targeting here, basically?
So we are talking about targeting, but we're talking about something slightly wider, because targeting doesn't really exist anymore, right? Like in the same way that it did maybe even 6-7 months ago. So each of us online, right? So like we can, if we pull up a phone, I can actually show you that like Facebook has a picture of you as a person, right? Mm-hmm. Based on the types of content you interact with, the types of videos you watch, how long you watch those videos, what things you share, what things you DM. It builds up this little information picture of you, and it will then take other bits of content and it will deliver it to you based on what it thinks that you'll like. And it's super sophisticated because it gets it right all the time, right? And that includes what sort of products you want to buy or what sort of services you want to interact with.
Mm-hmm. But that's no different to what YouTube would do when it's delivering you a video, for instance. It's the same. It's the same social media trick, what you like, what you don't like. I guess for me, what I'm curious about with advertising is, I think this is where you've mentioned, right, there's the boosted post.
Yes. Which
we can get into separately, because I think that's still a valid thing to go into.
Yeah.
And then you've got the ads manager platform, which is where you put in various different types of creative, which is just essentially various different types of ads that you've pre-made, put them in, boost that post. Yeah. And then what you're saying there now, I guess it's putting emphasis onto the importance of the type of things you're creating as a creator or a business. Like, what are my adverts looking like? Yeah. Because I want to try and attract a qualified lead with my advertising, right?
Yeah. I mean, let's go back to like real basics. Right? So when you're coming to deciding to advertise, right? So if you're a business and you're saying to yourself, should I start advertising online? And you go into the Facebook ad platform, you're going to be asked the question of, what is your goal, right? And based on what your goal is, you will pick a particular route to that goal. So if you want to get brand awareness, you want to get more video view, you want to get video views, that's a brand awareness type of thing. So it'll use a brand awareness algorithm to show it to people who are more likely to watch those sorts of videos. If you want to get more email addresses, right? It'll find people who are more likely to give you email addresses that fall into the niche that you sit in. If you want more leads, it'll find people who are interested in a service that you're providing within that space. So you're picking your goal, but you're also almost kind of like picking your stream of user.
Yeah. So this is in the ads platform. You go in and you set your campaign goal, and it comes up with a screen that says, "What's your goal?
What's your goal?
Leads, calls, and emails." You said. Yeah. And this is the very first part. So when people go into Ads Manager for the first time, they're confronted with this choice. Now, as a business owner, why would I want emails?
Well, so let's say you're looking to bring people into your business, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say you have a subscription box, right? Yeah. And you want to gather as many emails addresses so you can send them out an offer, but then you can keep sending them in emails, right? And like
building a mailing list, basically.
Building a mailing list, right? And like one of the reasons you might want to do that is because actually you don't want to have to rely on just sending, catching them online in the 30 seconds that they're going to the toilet. Like, you want to actually try and communicate with them in whenever you want,
on an ongoing basis.
On an ongoing basis. So you maybe want to collect their emails, right?
Yeah. And then the next phase, as a business owner, I mean, obviously, like a lead. So then, from my own very limited experience with meta ads, then when it comes to lead generation, we've got. I mean, it's an interesting one. So you've got these like instant forms that you can use, which are really handy. Yeah. And then you also have, I mean, you've got ability to just direct traffic directly to your website if you want. So talk to us about those little things.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. Let's say, okay, we've picked our goal, right? And we've picked our goal, and we've decided that we want to capture leads, right? Because we want to make sales for a particular product. Now, I don't know if anybody's experienced this, but there's a really poor in-app browser in Facebook and Instagram, right? It's clunky and it takes a long time to load. So if I'm just looking for someone's details, their name, their email address, their phone number, then rather than having to fight with that clunky in-app browser, I can use an instant form, which is like Meta's pre-built form, and it will pop up, it'll collect those details, it'll autofill because I've already given Instagram my information, and then it will populate it. And the beauty with it as well is I can either get all those collected in like an Excel, like a CSV file, or if I have like a CRM like HubSpot or MailChimp, I can connect that to my campaign, it'll send it straight through. Yeah. So it really helps to increase the amount of conversions of leads you get through something like that, because it's just much faster. It's much more expedited.
And I think it kind of speaks to one of the mistakes that I made when I did my first half decent campaign. Is I got loads of leads through the Meta Instant Forms manager, if you like, and it dumped them all into a CSV file. And I was like, shit, what do I do with 600 leads? I had no plan. Yeah. I had no plan for how successful the advertising campaign worked. How do I make sure the people that are seeing my advert are people that are genuinely interested in my products and services? Yeah.
So the game has changed so much in the last 10 years that I've been in Facebook ads, right? Yeah. Where I used to have to put in interest targeting, and I'd have to put on all these little targets and say interest in bikes, or actually maybe I need to look at they're interested in open roads, or and I've put in all these interests. We don't have to do any of that nonsense anymore, right? Because the game has changed. With there's a new algorithm. It's called Andromeda, and it changed the way that we interact with Meta ads, because a lot of this is all decided at the creative level. So it's so smart that if I put in, my creative has a guy in bikes, my copy is talking about bike sales, it's gonna show those ads to people who are likely to engage in that kind of creative with those kind of ads without me having to really lift a finger. I just have to tell it where I want it to be shown in terms of geography.
Yeah, but so the visual is of most importance in what you're actually putting into the ad. Yeah. So if I'm a fitness coach, or Doug situations, I'm a bike fitter, I should be in my bike shop or on my bike doing the thing, so you get that sort of...
Yeah, and actually, it's where we kind of start getting into the psychology of advertising, right? Because people buy from people who are like them. So, if you are trying to sell bikes to, maybe older men who are retired and, are looking for a hobby, well, you might want to have that kind of person in your creative, because actually I see that and I go, oh, this is a product for me, right? Yeah. Because, if I'm a PT and I really want to find, mothers who are coming back from pregnancy, well, I probably want to be shown training someone who is like that and have, all my calls to action around that sort of topic, because then it will help the algorithm find those people who are interested.
Would you say, on that note, people go wrong in advertising when they make it too much about themselves?
100%. And I think that, a lot of this comes from our own egos, right? So, we think that, people will care about us, and they definitely don't, right? What people care the most about is themselves. So we need to advertise to those people, what they're interested in. You have to remove yourself from it a little bit and take your own ego out and think about your customer.
Yeah. So if we quickly just go over everything we've talked about so far, we've got to the point where we're now like targeting the specific ads, but I think we've brushed over what you need to have in line before you even have earned the right to go into the Meta Business Suite. So again, hypothetically, let's just say like I'm Doug, I own the bike shop. I know that I can boost traffic and like get more people to buy my stuff, but my business is actually sort of a mess. Yeah. What should I look to have in order before I then start chucking money into ads?
Yeah, so actually, you need to have like some real basic stuff, right? So, do you have a Facebook page? Do you have an Instagram account? These are things that you need to have in place, right? Like, and I don't mean this facetiously. It's like these are really important things that you have to have before you even start advertising on these platforms, right? Now, it doesn't matter if you have like 3 followers, but you need to have these pages exist. You also then need to set up like an account to run this. So you need to set up something called a business manager. And this basically will be, it's part of the platform, and this like connects your ad account, which is like, I think of it as like your Facebook wallet, right? So it has your payment details, and it'll help you spend your money on Facebook and Instagram, right? Then this business manager also connects to your assets. What do I mean by assets? Your Facebook page, your Instagram. So it says this business manager is attached to this Facebook page and this Instagram page. And that's useful because if you're a multi-site business, you can have all of your different Facebook pages attached to the one ad account within the one business manager. So you've got all of those assets in place. Mm-hmm. Then you can then go into your ads account and you can start building out your ad campaign. But the mistake that I see time and time again, which is going to cost business owners so much money, is not remembering how to get into their business manager. Because then you can't access any of that stuff. So business continuity is something that I think business owners really need to think about when it comes to this sort of stuff. Don't just outsource it. Get an agency or a guy down the street that your friend used at the pub that ran his ads once. Like, really take ownership of the access that you have into these really prime business assets, because it just means that you don't get locked out of them.
And then, basically what you're saying is don't make sure you know what the password and login details are for these accounts, and don't just give it to someone who's going to change a password.
And beyond that, actually, what I also mean is if you have 2-factor authentication set up on it, know what phone it's going to.
Yeah.
Make sure it's your phone. If make sure that you have other routes into it, because if you don't, you get locked out. And actually, Facebook doesn't have a support system. So, it's got a support inbox, but if you get locked out of your account, it's tough times, because then you've got real trouble getting back into it, especially if it's got 2-factor authentication on it. Because then it'll, all of the things that they have set up to help you get back into your personal accounts, like, showing them a scan of your face, it doesn't work for your business, because you might not have your face on your business, right?
I actually had that with my Instagram account, the Pics by Chaz one.
Yeah.
So I got this photography account. It's got 25,000 followers. Every single piece of media on the account is of other people. Yeah. Had 2-factor authentication on it. Didn't really know what it meant when I set it up. I was like, fuck it, whatever. And then got locked out of it. I spent 3.5 weeks trying to get back in. Was doing all the face scanning stuff, but it was like, this doesn't match any of the faces on your page. I was like, fuck. It took so long. I can't even remember how I got back in, but to your point, it's just the most mind-numbing thing of all time.
I've got 3 different freelance clients at the moment that want me to run ads for them. I cannot get into their accounts because it's someone who's moved on and they had access into their accounts, and I can't get into their Facebook manager, their ads manager.
Which I presume is just burning their own money.
Well, it just means that they have no control over it. They can't get into it. Yeah. So, their campaigns might end, but they still can't start any new ones. Yeah. And, so they have to pay me to try and find a way into these sorts of things, right?
Yeah.
And like, think about that. Like, you know, you could be paying me to be setting up your ads account, your ads, but you're also paying me to try and access the ability to go and do that for you.
Yeah.
And it's all because you don't know the password.
Yeah.
I suppose like after all that, it leads us to the point. So it's like you need to have all of that sort of business admin stuff taken care of to get access to your accounts, and you should know sort of everything by heart there. But then we moved on. So we've spoken about creating the campaign, how you want to direct them, like what your desired outcome is, then picking the audience. But you mentioned that the actual visual and what goes into the campaign itself is vital, obviously. So how would you go about creating the ads themselves? Is it like a one and done, okay, I'm getting my iPhone out, I'm just going to film a quick ad? Or is it more of like what Doug did yesterday, where it's a full day, everything's scripted, you're diving deep into each topic?
So the first thing you have to do before you start any ad campaign is you have to come up with a strategy behind it, right? Which is, why am I doing this, right? And who am I trying to sell to? Why are they going to buy? Ask yourself these questions, right? Because it really helps then bringing all of these separate things out. So you're like, what's my offer to someone? Like why am I going to buy a bike from you?
You mean like an attraction?
Yeah, just any offer. Like, why am I going to buy a bike from you? Like, what are you selling to me? What's
my value add?
What are you selling to me, right? Like, you know, I think you need to ask that question. So, you know, if let's say we are a personal trainer and we're trying to sell our services, right? Okay, so what am I selling to them? Am I selling them a block of 6 weeks? Am I doing a 3 month, work with me for 3 months? Am I doing a summer shred? What is the thing that I'm selling? Because then I can ask, well, who is going to buy this? Yeah. Right? Then if it goes to who is going to buy this, then like, okay, how do I then get their attention through ads? So, I mean, let's be really honest. If I'm selling anything in the fitness space, I just need to have a really attractive girl in leggings bending over a few times, and that will probably make all of the difference, right? I mean, actually, if you're selling fitness, you just basically do that, and that's what these algorithms run on now, pretty much, right? Is girls in leggings. But I'm being facetious, but like you want to basically take your take your offer and your customer, and you need to go, okay, well, how am I going to present this to them? So, I think as a rule of thumb, I always try to put at least one video, one carousel, which is like, 3 separate images that kind of work together, and then a single image post, right? That I think that's a real basic. You can have a hell of a lot more. That's a real minimal amount that you would need. Mm-hmm. That video needs to be about 10 to 15 seconds. So it needs to call out who you're selling to. So single men under 30 in Edinburgh, right? Like, do you think you're too fat? Yeah. That's really kind of, you're really calling out the type of person that you're selling to. And then you're giving them in the next 6 weeks, you can lose 8 kilos if you work with me, right? Like, guaranteed your money back.
Well, that's
right?
the big thing. So what you just said there, guaranteed your money back.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things that I think really help draw people in.
Yeah.
Because this is the difference between me spending £500 and getting 20 leads, or spending £200 and getting 600 leads. And that's a key attraction offer. So what's your attraction offer? Is it like my special offer? What are the strategies I can use here? So am I making a guarantee? So you'll lose 20 kilograms or your money back, or you'll get 6-pack abs in 6 weeks, or you get your money back, or am I giving if you sign up today, I'll give you a £50 credit towards your next bike fit with Edinburgh Bike Fitting. So then I think advertising an attraction offer and being strategic about it is part of the creative process.
I totally agree. I also think, though, that a lot of times people do this without thinking about how it impacts their business, right? So, not to get super boring and talk about maths, But you need to do maths before you do something like that,
100%,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And I think a lot of times people skip this step, right? So like, they go, all right, I'm going to give someone 20% off. All right, well, where are you finding that 20%? Are you adding 20% onto the price already and then knocking it off, right? Or are you, can you afford to lose your margin? Because you're also got to take into account your advertising cost, right?
Yeah.
Because we haven't really talked too much, but this does cost you money, right?
Yeah.
So, how much, you then have to do how successful does this campaign have to do, including the amount of budget I've set aside for it and the attraction offer that I've put in. Then how many sales do I need to do? Because actually, you have to keep that final number in mind, because otherwise you're just going to lose money, right? Yeah. If I'm giving away free this and free that, or 25% off this, but I'm not making that up, then my business is going to lose money, and we don't want that. We want to make money, right?
Can we delve into that more?
Yeah.
Because I think this is one of the most important parts of the podcast, especially for someone who's never advertised before, and it's really overwhelming. Yeah. And like, what are the next stages of the chess pieces, if that makes sense? What are the next moves? Yeah. So you've touched on a couple of interesting points. So like, my most successful like attraction offer I've ever used is a giveaway. Yeah. I'm going to give away 2 bike fits, okay? And then I'm also going to give away £500 credit for anything on the bike fit, and £500 credit on anything they need from a workshop, plus a service. So I advertised 2 top prizes of £3,000 total value.
Okay.
But as a business, that only cost me a bit of my own time. Yeah, okay. But direct cost about £600.
See, that's a really sexy offer for business, right? And like, you have done maths in order to do that, right?
So here's the next part of the maths. Yeah. Right. So then I go, right, well, what's the lifetime value of a customer? So if I get you as a customer, you're going to come into my shop, you're going to get a bike fit. So that's £350. And then take away that, so I'm going to net £280 off that. Then I'll maybe sell you a pair of cycling shoes. If you buy an expensive enough pair of cycling shoes, I'm probably going to make net about £150 profit, maybe a bit less. Yeah. But by the time I sell you insoles and cleats at the same time, then all of a sudden I've netted you from almost £300 to almost £600. And then in a year's time, you're going to come back and you're going to buy a bike. And if you buy an expensive
you're thinking about lifetime value here, aren't you?
So then in your ad campaigns, you have to be thinking about the lifetime value of the customer, because they're going to come in off the back of that ad campaign, they're going to spend money. You might only recoup the advertising cost that you just spent out on the initial inlay of money, but what have you gained from the lifetime net of a customer? But even as a beginner business, you might not be in a comfortable position to be able to afford to do that straight away. So then here's some of the strategies that I think that are really important to know about. For instance, it didn't cost me much to give away a service. So I'm going to give away like a free bike fit.
Because you can pick when you put them in, right?
Well, it doesn't cost me anything but time to give away. And this is if you're beginning, like, so for instance, Charles, you're like, right, I'm getting into this studio space. It doesn't really cost you anything other than time to give someone access to this as part of their prize. So then you're only going to get a qualified lead if you're advertising the service that you give. So I think considering a giveaway, like a really considered giveaway with maybe some smaller aspect of material prize, but then it's like, right, well, if that nets me 100 leads that have got a lifetime value of £1,000, well, then that's giving me £100,000 for my £200 worth of ad spend, or my £600 worth of ad spend. But then you've also got to think about, right, I've lost a day of work to shooting these ads. I've lost like all the rental fees of the studio that it's going to cost me to buy all these ads. So you're totally right. You have to do the maths. But thankfully for all of us, we've got Claude. So like what are the variables we have to think of, right? Production cost of the ad spend of the ad versus lifetime value of the customer, versus how many leads you get versus the conversion. So these are all the things that you need to think about at the start.
I think the most important one for people is like, if they're new to this, they have no idea how much money they need to put into anything, right? We've all had a friend that puts £5 into a boosted post, £50. When someone's starting out and they're budgeting, what is, like, do you have a sort of set number for a daily spend? And how does that change?
So, let's talk about how Facebook uses your money, right? Because this is kind of important to understand. I give Facebook money, and I say I have a choice. I can either do what's known as a campaign budget. So that's like over the entire time of my campaign, I'm giving you £100, and you're going to spend that along that way. Or I can, schedule it from, let's say, today for 2 weeks, and I give it an amount of money that is the top end that it'll spend every day, right? Now, we can get into the nuances of why you would make those decisions, but what it does with that money is it looks at your creative and how well it performs, and it will show your ad more if it performs well, right? And actually, your cost will actually go down the more it's shown, right? Because it goes, this is really high value, this is working really well, we're showing it loads, and it's getting lots of interaction, so this is a good money maker. So the better your ad, actually, the less you spend, and the more it will get shown. However, if I don't give it enough money, right, it's not going to get shown at all, right? Because it can't compete with all the other things. So you've got to look at what space are you in. So if you're in the fitness space, I'm afraid to tell you, very, very expensive, very competitive, lots of money in it. If you're selling courses like finance or anything like that, really, really expensive, right? Lots of money behind it. And I'll give you a really good example of a client I kind of recently did a bit of a one-to-one with. Now, he is a guy who is a teacher, and in his spare time, he does a workshop on how to invest for retirement. He's also a financial advisor. And he came to me and he said that he'd spent £500 on ads, and he'd seen nothing from them, right? So I actually went into the Facebook ads library. One of my favorite tools for social media advertising is the meta ads library, because I can go in, I can search anyone who's advertising, I can take a look at what creative they're using, and I can take a look at everything about it. Now, I went into the Facebook ad library for this particular client, and I saw how many campaigns he'd run, and I'd even seen on one of them, it said impressions limited by budget, right? So I instantly knew this guy's not spending enough money. So he's spent £500. His ads have gotten shown to virtually no one, and that's where all his money's gone. So I actually took, I had a meeting where I said, look, if you want to come back to me and you can put enough money aside for, let's say, a week, 2 weeks, around £15 to £20 a day, we'll start off and we'll see how those go. We'll know if we need to increase budget or decrease budget based on that amount, because we'll see what the reach is. But he's in a really expensive space. Yeah. On the face of it, it's a financial course, right? Do you know what? That's real expensive real estate, right? So, you have to really think about how competitive is the space I'm in, and what are my competitors going to be spending on? And also, it's really useful to go and take a look at your competitors' ads and see how they're selling your product, right?
And when it comes to, you obviously said you go in, you monitor it, you see where the money's getting spent. I think, how would people know when to start redirecting ad spend to certain things? Do you leave it a day, 2 days, 3 days, a week?
Right, okay, so we're going to get into the weeds a little bit here, right? So buckle in, boys, right? Right. So, I think you need a new can of juice for this, right? So, remember I went back and I was talking about how you spend your money, okay? So let's talk about campaign budget optimization. What does that mean to someone who has a life? What that means is I give Facebook money, and it will divert that money across my different ad sets and my different ads to the one that is performing the best, it'll feed it the most money, right? So when I'm monitoring a campaign, I look at this and I go, okay, where is all the reach going to? Where are all the leads going to? Where's all the clicks going through? Which one isn't doing that well? And you can then make a call on, well, actually, this creative must be a bit poor. So I can just switch that off. And then I can have the money divert into the other ads, and I can see out of those 3, which one's performing. So,
I want an on-the-go split test.
It's on the go split test, and you're allowing it to, the algorithm to do its job, but you're not just burning cash on ads that obviously aren't delivering, and you're kind of using the signals that it's giving you to help spend your money in the best way.
And you mentioned earlier you want to have 3 ads running, so it's like a static 1 post, a carousel, and then a video, 10 to 15 seconds. Would you at any point want to view your meta ads, see what's working well, and then try and remake it better to like republish it, put the money back behind the new improved version? Or are you just letting the original that's performing well already keep going?
So if it's performing well, right? Like, dude, if it's broke, don't fix it, right? Like,
if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, just leave it to do its thing. This is a really key number that people always forget about, is your frequency, right? And what your frequency is, this is one of your little stats, and it's telling you how many people in the audience you've selected, how often have they seen your ad. So if that number is above 3, if that's like 7 or 8, well, basically, it's cycled through everyone that is in your audience, and they're now seeing it multiple times. They're not taking action. It's probably time to change that creative out. You could probably use a similar, if it's performed well, you could use a similar style, but you want to change that out.
Mm-hmm. So now we understand about changing it out and refining based on the performance. I got a question for you on how consistently are you wanting to run ads? Do you want an ad that runs just like a general ad for your business almost year round? Or are you wanting to do it more seasonally? Because Doug, you obviously just filmed ads now, Tour de giveaway.
Yeah, well, we had a conversation. Yeah, we had a conversation pre-podcast.
So what is your current campaign?
My current campaign is a lead gen campaign that I'm using Meta Instant Forms to generate a phone number and an email from a lead that goes directly into my CRM. I'll have their phone number. I'll have their email address. With the email address, they're going to go into my mailing list. That's great because now that's guaranteed reach. Every time I put out a mailing list, I'm directly in that person's inbox. But if I get their phone number, now they're also on my SMS list, and I can also phone them with details to the competition. So when I phone them, it's a much higher likelihood I'll be able to convert them because I'll phone them up and I'll be like, oh, hey, David, I saw you entered my competition on winning a new bike frame finder service. So I know that you need a new bike.
I do.
I also sell bikes.
You sell bikes?
And I can also now fit you perfectly for your new bike. And because you've entered this competition, even though you didn't win, I'm going to give you £50 credit towards your next bike fit with me at Edinburgh Bike Fit because I want to get you perfectly set up on your bike. And you'll probably buy it from me because we've got a good sales team. And also, I can offer you a higher value service than I can the next guy. So then this is where you're thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead of just the advert itself.
So, and I think what you're doing is great, right? But I think you have a good solid business and you've made those mistakes and you've learned, right? I think that if I was just a business that is just dipping my toe into this, right? What I would say to them is I would forget about doing anything always on at the moment. What I would come up with is a really good offer, and I would put that out and test it. I would test my offer. I would make sure that I've got something that's going to grab their attention and that I can really see the value of, and then I can move into being a bit more complex with splitting out my different campaigns.
Can I just add one thing to that?
Yeah.
Because the one thing I feel that would have helped me make better ads from the very start is, and it's super simple, every time you see an ad on Meta that you've bought something from or you've been interested from, stop what you're doing, swipe down from the top right-hand corner of your phone, turn on screen record, and play the ad back. and record the ad, and then watch the ad 3 or 4 times and see if you can emulate that creative into your business.
So I do the exact same thing. I think it's great advice. That is actually great advice, because I do the exact same thing. I save
every ad.
I save so many posts all the time, and I see something I like, and I go, I like that, and I save it, or I send it to whatever business I'm working with. I send it to their inbox, so that actually when next time I'm working, I look and I take a look at all that and I go, okay, how can I twist this? It's why I use the meta ads library, because I can know all of my competitors, right? So I tick tick tick, and I look and I see what they're doing, and I go, okay, well, how can I use this? Like, it's not necessarily ripping off other people's ads.
No, it's just like replicating.
Yeah, it's not even replicating. I think sometimes I'm even doing the opposite, right? Because I might see, okay, look, Ember Pipe Fitting, they're doing a pretty good tour de force campaign for bike fitting, right? So maybe I need to do something different. So I'm not gonna run it if I'm Lothian bike fitting, right?
Those damn Lothian bike fitters.
Right? If I'm Lothian bike fitting, I go, do you know what? I need to
right now.
yeah, those guys are Lothian bike fitting. But I'm actually going to look at yours and I go, oh, that's quite a good idea. Tour de France, great, good for me to utilize that. But what can I offer that's slightly different? So do I give away a brand new pair of shoes to kind of get them in the door, so that I can then go, oh, look, your bike looks like it's not fitting you great. Can I get you in for a bike fitting right now? Or, I maybe try and compete on a different offer, simply because I think your offer is really good, and I don't want to try and compete with you on that.
So to make sure that if someone's listening to this, they're not completely lost, we've gone over like account management and just general admin, know all of that stuff, know exactly who you're wanting to serve, why, what you can offer them, and then you need to decide on your budget. If you were to give people like quick rule of thumb for budgeting, what would you say there?
Treat it like gambling, so don't spend any more than you can afford to lose, right? Don't, right? Gambleaware.com.
Yeah.
Right? No, but honestly, don't, my rules would be, don't spend anything you can't afford to lose, right? So if your business is on the edge and you think that this is the thing that's going to get you out, like, you know what they say, what the number one rule about digging holes is? If you find yourself in a hole, stop digging, right? So I would then go, okay, how much can I put aside? So I always think that for a testing campaign, something around £200 is a nice amount, right? Run it for 10 days and see how it lands, right? And as the campaign goes, after the first 4 or 5 days, if it's really not delivering, stop it. Just stop it and start again, right? Don't throw good money after bad. If it's not delivering after 3 days, it's never going to deliver, okay?
Yeah.
If it's not delivering after about a day, it's probably not going to deliver, if I'm really honest with you.
One of the things that I wish I'd known before I launched my first good campaign, when I say first good campaign, I've done a whole load of £10 a day posts. I then had another little half-cooked campaign, and then I could go back years. But the first time I had a really good attraction offer in place, and I had really good creative, and I had pretty decent ad spend. All of a sudden, I got, over the course of a couple of days, really more leads than I knew what to do with. My biggest mistake was, because I got so many leads, it was overwhelming. So then how do I manage those leads? Where are they going? How do I quickly convert them? Do I put them into a landing page? Do I put them onto a store page? Do I put them into a booking link? How do I organize the funnel of where everything's going so that I can just convert? Because that's that final stage of that ad. I've attracted a high quality lead, and I just want to make sure that I've got the kind of the infrastructure off the back of that ad. And I think earlier on, before this podcast, you'd mentioned something about just keeping it clean and simple. And I don't know if you want to go into some detail with what you found success in.
Right. So what I've found success in is that wherever I'm sending someone from my ad, I need to make sure whatever that process that they land on is fast. So are they filling out a form? It needs to be really clear and simple. If they're checking out to buy a product, it needs to be really simple.
Take me to the store page.
Take me to the store page. Don't send me to a product page. Send me to the checkout page that I can buy it from straight away.
Take my credit card details right now.
Man, reduce friction. All right, that's all you want to do is reduce as much friction as possible, because that is the thing that's going to make all the difference. Now, if you're sending me to a janky page, do you think I'm sitting on that for long? Oh no, boy, I'm outie.
No
right?
way,
and you've
sister.
lost the sale. Okay, I'm gone. Right? So really, genuinely, take some care in what you're doing. Like, go through that journey yourself. Get your girlfriend to go through that journey and see actually.
What if you're single?
Well, sorry. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, Cedric.
Triggering.
Do you know what? Here's a really great chat up line. Would you like to try out my checkout process?
I don't know. How to stay single forever. Yeah. So this is my Meta business suite.
I'm sorry. Hey, this is crazy. I've just met you, but will you try out my checkout process?
We're testing the conversion success of our funnel right now. I don't know if you want in on this, sister.
I'll tell you what. That'll get you all the girls. But
you're more beautiful than even my conversion funnel could ever dream of being.
But I would genuinely get someone to try it, right? Like I would get someone to look at it and really sense check. If you go onto this product page, how easy is it? Because like you're blinded by your own brilliance, right? And like it's something that we all go on to something that we've made and we're like, oh no, that's fine. But once you get someone else to do it, they go, oh, I can't find the thing. I can't do this. Like, actually, like, get your 76-year-old mum to go onto it. Like, is it that easy for her to go and do it? And if it is, then in fact maybe you've got a winner. So you just want to make sure it's really clear.
Just a dry run.
A dry run.
I think one of the simple things for me would be if you're trying to get a phone number out of someone, they have to have a double opt-in for a phone number. And a lot of the time that double opt-in for a phone number only works when they put their phone number into the form and they get a text to say yes or no, do I agree to sign up? Mm-hmm. And if you don't get that text through within 2 seconds, there's no way you're going to continue with the sign up. Mm-hmm. So I've definitely lost some phone numbers to the double sign up on SMS numbers, for instance.
Yeah. So like as a
testing
matter of,
all that stuff out is very important.
Like as a matter of course nowadays, I tend to, if I'm setting up like an instant form, for example, I always ask for a confirmation text. Yeah. Because otherwise, you just risk getting so much bum information. Yeah. Because like, dude, I've done it. I've put a fake number in, right? I've given fake numbers out.
I just want that free.
That was my 20s was giving out fake numbers, right? But like, if you can get that SMS verification when you're doing a checkout, you've added a little bit of friction into the form fill, and what that means is that lead is actually even more high quality because in fact, you've had to add a little bit of friction and you know that number's correct. So you know that there's a lot more intent there. Mm-hmm.
So if we were to like wrap all of this up into like a packaging for a beginner, obviously the promise was they would understand advertising by the end of this. I've gone over it like many times already, but to sum up this last sort of portion here is you want to add enough friction into the process to ensure that you have a quality lead and it's not just like anyone trying to rinse you of your information. You don't want to be running £10 a day ads all year round. If you're new to it, set aside a budget of like 200, 250 quid, whatever's affordable. Run that for a specific grand giveaway and see what you get, learn from that, and then you can obviously do different iterations of the ads when you decide to do it again. Is there anything else that you think we've missed out on so far that someone at the beginning of their ads journey should know before they get into it?
The one thing they definitely need to know is that this isn't going to instantly fix their business. Like, this is an investment in your business. And so if you see the money that you're putting away into it as an investment rather than just something you're losing, then you're going to get, much more out of it. And I think one of the key terms that I would ask everybody to learn is ROAS. and that's your return on ad spend. And I want you to really think about that, because if I'm putting £20 a day aside, but actually I'm bringing in £25 worth of sales per day, then do you know what? I'm getting £5 more, which is £5 more good, £5 less bad. But if we start thinking in those terms, that actually I'm investing £20 a day, this £20 a day could actually bring £45, £50 worth of revenue into my business. It's helping my business to grow. So don't just think of it as I'm losing, because you're not just losing, you are gaining, but you have to think in the long term. And I think a lot of times, especially people who are really just entering advertising on social media, they think of it as losing £20. Their budget is £20 a day and they're never going to see it again. If it's done well, you're going to see that and more.
Yeah. And then I suppose to wrap on this, where can people find you on social media? Or
So the best way to find me is to look up Ry Gavin on LinkedIn, and you'll find me there. Add me, drop me a connection request. You can drop me a DM if you've got a problem, and I can either help you right then and there, or we can set up a meeting and chat about it.
yeah. Wherever there is a Meta Business Suite, there is a Ryan Gavin.
Yeah. I am here. I'm here.
Paralysis demon.
I am here.
Yeah.
Well,
I will sit on your chest and make your ads optimized.
I mean, I think what would be really cool, right? I think it'd be really cool is if we gave away half an hour to 5 Edinburgh business owners, and they came in here and they asked us the questions that are really burning on their minds about getting the best out of their ad spends on Meta. I think that would be really, really good.
I'm cool for that.
Let's do it.
Yeah, right.
Let's do it. Right. If any of you, if you guys heard the man, if you are in Edinburgh, you're not allowed to live even a minute outside of Edinburgh. If you're in Edinburgh, you've got any questions on ads, then you can come here into the studio and you can ask our man any question you like, but only one. So you got to make it good.
If you live even 1 minute out with that Edinburgh bypass,
You will be turned away.
you will get out of here. Get out. Get.
But yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll do another video very soon. Peace.